Good evening. Hashtag our global AERA GSC family. I am Dre Abeita, coyote walking in this world, and real life Isleta Pueblo superhero. I'm also incredibly honored to be the two-spirited indigenous coyote warrior who is also leading the AERA GSC this year as chair. I am here with our amazing international family, some of our officers, and our graduate students who are going to be sharing their lived experiences during COVID. This evening, in an effort to reclaim space and start the healing process of coloniality and white supremacy family, I, as an indigenous two-spirited warrior, am here in my traditional dress as I reclaim space. Additionally, we will be starting our ceremony and our wonderful discussion today with some ceremony. I am going to be burning some sage in a ceremony called smudging. All around the world, family, we have ways of healing and knowing that speak and feed our spirits. So today, as I burn this sage and we speak to our ancestors and ask for guidance as we continue to walk as educational warriors, family, if you are not a person who prays, please set an intention as we walk the path that our family sacrificed so we could be here today. Dear ancestors, please look kindly on all of your community members from around the world. We are your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and we were your hopes and dreams, and we continue to thrive and survive despite COVID. And we are here in this healing space to share our lived experiences and our stories and celebrate our victories, as well as talk about our pains so that we can come together united by human experience. Please send us strength and patience to all of our educational warriors around the world. Our positionalities are incredibly different. Our access to the vaccine, our access to life resources, jobs, and opportunities are hugely and vastly different. So please send us all some hope and some patience and understand that we are in this fight together, and that through understanding that, we can overcome and become mighty superheroes who will transform this world. Thank you for the sacrifices that you made so that we could have the privilege of higher education and becoming the researchers, the community leaders, the educators, the high school teachers, and the graduate student researchers that we need. Thank you so much. Dear family, we are trying to create new spaces in AERA because this coyote is tired of hearing that academics have no space for people who look like me, who speak my language, and who have my hopes and dreams and real life challenges. So I'm saying together, family, we can create these spaces and celebrate each other's lives. I am here to introduce my amazing partner in crime and our current chair-elect.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here. I am Dre. I said I am Dre. Sorry about that, but that is my sister in crime. I am Andrea Layton, but everyone calls me Andii. I am the new chair-elect. I am a current third-year student, graduate student in educational leadership at Pennsylvania State University. Like all of you here, I do have a great passion for social justice and racial equity, and just making this country and this world more equitable and comfortable for all of us. And we're here to learn together. This is a community, and as the African proverb goes, it takes a village. So I can't do it alone. Dre can't do it alone. None of us can. So I always end by saying, let's do this. And I'm going to pass it back to my sis. Dre, take it from here.
And thank you again, family. We are doing these chair fireside chats every month on the last weekend. My amazing sis and I are going to be pairing up and having different academic panels centering different topics that literally affect all of our lives. So please make sure to join us In addition, family, we will be spending a few moments giving you a monthly update on what our entire global family has been up to. Because you know this coyote's got big plans for world domination through educational social transformation. So first off, family, we have 5 amazing ad hoc committees that we have raised, and that's how all of our work's going to get done this year. And we need your help. Our 11 officers, 24 division reps, 37 campus reps, and 20 SIG reps cannot do it alone. We need you to stand up and come join our committees, either as co-chairs to help plan a specific event or as general members just to help get the ball rolling. The first committee that's super important is academics, and that committee helps to plan and invite our speakers for these monthly events. In addition to that, family, if you have a burning topic in mind, go ahead and bring it to the committee or join us as a co-chair, and we will make the resources happen so your event's successful. In addition to that, we also have a community building ad hoc committee, and we'd love to get off some amazing ideas like a monthly yoga event, some meditation time, some tea time with our family. And also, someone has pitched the idea of having blocks of writing time and an open Zoom call so people can just get on there and write and know that you're not alone. But again, family, this is going to take some amazing volunteer superpower. The last committee that I'm going to talk to before I pitch it back to my amazing sis is Project Unity. Dear family, our student government right now as a council is 11 officers and 24 division reps. But we want to bring in and have more of a solidified voice for our 37 campus reps, as well as expanding that program and bring our 20 SIG reps back into the fold and give them official positions, as well as expanding that, family. So help us by joining one of these 3 amazing ad hocs. But don't wait. Andii has some more pitches for another amazing committee that has some great work going on. What else do you got for us, Andii?
Man, guys, if I can just buy her energy, I swear that's so one of the things that's coming up, all of you, is this social justice committee. So as Dre just said, there's a lot of things that happen on our campuses that are kind of, I would say, they happen in darkness, they happen in secret, and some of us just don't have an outlet to report out, to talk, to vent, or just get some type of support. So the Social Justice Committee is going to be that place of advocacy for you. Of course, it's going to be confidential. We're actually working together to kind of create the framework of what it can look like. But just to give you some idea of what it is for you to kind of come aboard if you're interested, is the Social Justice Committee, again, it's going to be that safe place for you to just let us know if there's anything traumatizing or something that you feel as though has happened to you that may not be fair, maybe biased, maybe racist, maybe sexist. We're creating a system, a community of people that are going to come together to create support systems for you, as well as accountability systems to put this out inside the world so this is not accepted. To just give you an example of recently, I was just told, my sis knows about this. I was asked if I take things personally because I'm a person of color. And this happened, to be honest with you, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't even know how to respond to it. But something like that really did bother me. It still is. It only happened about 2 weeks ago. And this place like this Social Justice Committee can be that place for me to let me know, hey, this happened to me. Am I crazy for feeling bad about this? Am I crazy for feeling like I should have said something back, but I didn't know what to say? I needed that during that time, and honestly, I need it now. So we're bringing a community of like-minded folks that just can be that support system for all of us. So please, if you're interested, if you have ideas, I'm sure all of us have been through something, please reach out to us. And we're just gonna make this happen because it's needed. And I just need to hear from you. We need to hear from you.
And now, family, for our main event. thriving and surviving during COVID, celebrating the lived experiences of AERA international graduate students. And without further ado, our chair for this evening, Roti Chakraborty.
Thank you, Dre. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Roti Chakraborty, and I am so honored to chair today's panel. I am a Dean's Research Doctoral Fellow at the Georgia State University. I am currently pursuing a PhD in Educational Policy Studies. My major is Research, Measurement, and Statistics. I am also proud to be the AERA Division D Junior Representative, a member of the AERA Graduate Student Council, and a general member of the AERA Graduate Student Council Academics Ad Hoc Committee. Additionally, I am an international student from Bangladesh, a beautiful South Asian country. My research interests focus on assessment, classroom assessment, teachers' assessment practice, measurement, student achievement and learning. I am exploring the assessment practice, student achievement factors, and policy from a global perspective to contribute to my own country's practice. As an international student, our topic for today's panel is very close to my heart. So without further ado, at this time, I request that our respected panel members introduce themselves.
I can go first if anyone wants me to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So glad to be here. And my name is Ethan Trinh. My pronoun is they, them, and I am the third year doctoral student at Georgia State University, focusing on language and literacy with a minor in women's studies. And what else? My research interest is to focus on the intersection of race, gender, and language. And I usually told myself that I try to connect meditation and queerness as part of my teaching and healing. Um, what else? Oh, I love coffee. I love coffee. I can drink like 2 cups of coffee a day. That is my power. If everyone is wondering. Yeah, that's it. Qiyang.
Yeah, thank you, Ethan. My name is Qiyang, and the pronunciation is in the bracket. It means rising sun in Mandarin. And because I was born in the morning, that's why my dad named me the rising sun. I've been an international student almost my whole life because I was born in China. And then when I was 14 years old, I went to Singapore and continued my education. And then I came to the US in 2019. This is my second year in the United States. And I really cared about international students' well-being because I've been through a lot of hardships as an international student in different countries. Uh, I'm a rising second year PhD student at Johns Hopkins University, and what else? My research interest, I have a wide research interest. I haven't narrowed down yet, but I'm interested in quantitative methodology, especially meta-analysis. And for topic area, I'm currently doing some research with regard to international students' mental health during COVID-19. And hopefully our papers will be out soon. One fun fact about me is that I have 2 cats. I adopted them during COVID-19, and I can talk a bit more about them later in the questions. Yeah, that's all about me. Nice to meet you all.
Hi everyone. So my name is Ezgi. It's a Turkish name. So I'm from Turkey. 4 years ago, I moved to Montreal, Canada, which also known as Gahnaga is the historically known gathering places for First Nations. And currently I'm a PhD candidate in education. And my research is related to decolonization. So I bring critical and decolonial perspective to the study and practices of internationalization and decolonization in higher education. particularly I look for decolonizing curriculum and pedagogy, and through my work, I try to interrupt common colonial patterns of education engagement. And also, I carry another title rather than PhD candidate. The other title is public scholar. It's not that I label myself, but the Concordia University gave this label to 10 PhD students for this year. The aim of public scholar program is to engage my research to the public, not only academia, but to the public, and to increase community engagement. So I'm so happy to be here, and I would like to respond questions and engage more with all of you. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, our dear panel members, for the introductions. It's great to know about you all a little bit more. So today is our aim to share how our international graduate students survived and thrived during this COVID. During the COVID of the last 1.5 years, the world has experienced a totally unexpected new phase. Many things have changed and are still changing. Millions of people died, the social and economic structure got poorly affected, the education system has devastated, and it has affected our psychology too. Most importantly, it has been a critical moment for the international students who had to continue their studies despite all of the effects, and that too staying away from families. That is why we want our panel members to tell their stories today, their experience, historical trauma, healing strategy, and opinions holistically through the intersectionality lens, reflecting on their race, gender, class, and other relevant factors. Before starting our discussion, I would like to highlight our event format. So, dear audience, we have 5 guiding questions for our discussion today. I will pose each question to our panel members who will then have an opportunity to respond. After we have finished all 5 questions, our session will end with the question and answer segment. So please feel free to pose any questions to our panelists and us using the chat function below during the event. So we will now start our panel discussion. So as I said, I'm an international student too, and I also have been going through difficulties since this pandemic started. When this pandemic started in 2020, that was the beginning of my PhD. I started in fall 19. So I just started to involve myself in the on-campus events, seminars, and opportunities. I was trying to cope with the new culture, enjoy the grad student life, and then that sudden lockdown happened. So I could not get to explore enough. Then we had this travel restriction. That was my first summer vacation, and I planned to visit my home, but all the flights got cancelled. So that particular time was so unbearable to me, thinking that when will I get to see my family again? Also, I was supposed to attend 2 conferences, AERA and NCME. 2 of those got cancelled, and it affected my work speed and to some extent my interest. So after hearing my example, the first question to my panel members is, as an international graduate student, how has COVID affected and changed your life? Additionally, how have your varying positionalities, including race, gender, class, religion, citizenship, language, and other intersections, influenced your lived experiences? So any of you can jump in.
I can start first. Thank you, Roti, for sharing your experiences. So as I mentioned just now, I came to the United States in 2019, August, and only had 1 semester in person. And in March 2020, during the spring break, my university at that time sent me an email saying that I have to leave the student dormitory and go back to my own country within a week. And I was really panicking because my parents are in China. And at that time, because of the air flight restrictions, a single trip back to China will cost at least $5,000 US. And then you have to stop in a third country where you probably don't have visa to enter and you may be stranded there. And also I don't have that much money to return. So I started searching for apartments near campus because I only have a week. But some landlords, they refuse to rent houses to me because I'm from China, and they, like Trump keeps talking about the Chinese virus, and then they just like, they think that I'll bring the Chinese virus to their family. And it was really frustrating during that time. And sorry, thinking about this still makes me really upset. And in the end, I found a place to stay, but I have to pay $2,000 per month, which is really expensive. I only managed to pay rent after borrowing money from my friends. And then that's the start of the pandemic. And then there's this rising anti-Asian sentiments and the political tensions between the US and China. A lot of Chinese students' visas are revoked. And I was like living in fear every day. I bought a flight to go back to China last year in summer, but it was canceled, and I didn't get any refund. They only gave me credits to spend, but you know, I still haven't spent any credits because now there's still air restrictions, and the credits can only be spent before September 2022. So hopefully the pandemic will wave down and I can spend those air flight credits. Yeah, that's a story I prepared. I'm sorry for the dark side of that.
Maybe I can go next. When the COVID happened and during the mid-March that Canada has more aware and the university started to shut down, I was in the middle of my comprehensive exam in my doctoral studies, and I was going every day to the university because I have a desk and chair, and that's the place that I was like studying and really writing my written exam for comprehensive. And when we learned that it's shut down, I just feel, okay, I don't have even a desk in my own apartment to study because I didn't really arrange my living space in that way. And I was stressed out because should I worry about my health? Should I worry about my family or my relatives back in Turkey? Or should I worry about my own exam? So it was a very challenging time if I go back, and lots of uncertainties that we had all around the world, actually, not only for me, but for all of us. So I think worry first about the health issues, whether really Canada is a good place for me to be in, or should I go back to my own country? But it was very tricky to really travel. So I spent my time in Canada, and I focused on my comprehensive exam to finish. And I really asked for extension for a few days that I could at least find a desk and arrangement in my own space that I could continue writing on my exam. And as for my positionalities, as an international student, you don't have a network of friends and families in the country that you study. So in that way, I feel this is one thing that I should be concerning during the COVID, that who are my support system in here. I was lucky enough that in my own neighborhood, I developed some friendships that I could keep in touch, but I always keep in mind the other friends that I have and how we could really support each other in that time, especially the international students.
So Qiyang and Ezgi, thank you for sharing your experience. I don't know what I can say about my positionality because I'm always struggling with my positionality. Um, and then that is the very first thing that I was thinking about this panel, because it's focusing on, you know, some so-called international, right? But those people who live in between, like me, you know, I'm an immigrant, but also consider myself as transnational, right? But also myself and my mind, even though my body is sitting in Georgia, right? But my mind is still flying back to Vietnam, which is my country, which is my quê hương. And I wrote about that in my book as well. But the thing is, um, it is very difficult for me to have kind of like a fixed word or definition about like my positionality, because my gender is really, I think, fluid. My identity is fluid as well. So I cannot speak for myself, but what about to say is like more about the collection of memories and the stories of my friends who are from different spaces and times. So from what I experienced during the COVID, what I could say is that like a sense of building the community, and a sense of belonging or not belonging, and a sense of building the community. It just is simply an act of sending a message to check in with friends, like to see how's everything going every day, what's going on. Can I offer you like a drive from one place to another place, or do you have any food today? I can come in and then leave the food in front of your door and then just leave, something like that. Or I just like offer my time to draw with them, virtually, or just like listening to them, because some of my friends have to go through with like, divorce, like family situation, some of the legal stuff that the Trump presidency forced them to do. So I feel that a sense of community, building the community, building a strong community, is pretty much embedded in my work and in my thinking. And I did not feel it stronger as it was during the COVID.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience regarding this. And I can also relate my stories, like as Qiyang told that regarding this housing issue and refund issue. So I had to unfortunately change my apartment during that COVID, and it was tough to find any, because like the incoming of the international students was not that much that time due to the visa issue, and so it was not possible to find any suitable vacant apartment. And I had to also put a lot of effort behind this ticket refunding issue, and it was not a good thing actually. So yeah, I can totally relate with your story. So our next second question is like, using a holistic perspective and thinking about your mind, body, and spirit during COVID, what strategies did you use to help overcome multiple obstacles?
Yeah, I think I can go again. So as I said just now, I during that time, I lived in a student dormitory, and most students are international students, and all of us were asked to leave the dormitory with like a few days of notice, and we were all very frustrated. And at that time, I feel that I need to speak up. So I actually, like some news reporter contacted me, and then I agreed to get an interview with them. But I insisted keeping me anonymous at that time, because I was afraid of the university like not giving me my graduation certificate, and I was very scared at that time. So here is a link of that news report. I feel what helps me is that I spoke up, and then after this news was reported, I received an email from a professor in that university who kindly offers to help me find houses and offers to like to just help me. I feel it's really nice to get help from people. And I think next time if I encounter something similarly, I will also speak up. And another thing I want to say about a strategy that helped me overcome the obstacles is that I feel a lot of international students are probably coming from conservative societies where like we're reluctant to seek professional help or mental health counseling when we encounter difficult situations. And I think we should not feel ashamed when we need help and ask for help. And I actually went for some counseling sessions, which are provided for free in my universities. And I can choose the language for that session. I had the session in Mandarin, and the counselor gave me a lot of relaxing strategies and coping strategies. And those really helped me. Yeah, those are the two strategies that helped me overcome the obstacles I faced.
Should I go again next, or Layton, do you want to go? Yeah, so I just want to maybe follow up what it's mentioned about the mental health. I think this is very important to really learn what kind of services that you have access as a student, as an international student, and really take advantage of using. And maybe the countries that some people are coming from, including my own country, maybe those services seems not very useful, but I really take advantage of those services during the COVID to really keep up with my mental health. And as well as one thing I realized as an international student, because I was locating in Canada and Montreal, that's why I could able to have access. But those students, as international students, if they move and go back to their home countries, actually they couldn't able to use those services. So this is still an obstacle, I think, for institutions or nations to really solve, that those services should be accessible for all students, not only those locate in the city that the university established. But the other strategies is to be really flexible, because in those situations you need to really figure it out, things being open to learn and flexible. And the other strategy is also mentioned that I agree is to be speak up and ask for help or reach out others, because you are not going to solve the problems alone, and there are some people you can really take advantage of. The other strategy is because I'm believe, I have a faith, so that's why prayer was also helpful, but to also put an action to solve those obstacles and problems, the strategies. For example, if you need help or extra time, you can reach out to your committee or your department. You can really ask for housing. There are services in universities. So these are the things, I think, to really communicating your needs to the institution or your surroundings, and really asking help.
Thank you for sharing, Yang. For me, what I did was to draw pictures, and I love taking photos. When I was running, I spent more time with my mom. She's been struggling with mental health issues. So I spent a lot of time with her, working with her, talking with her, to the park, and, we were trying, something that I experienced was that we got in a line to wait for the free food. And I think it's not embarrassed at all. It's just kind of like the reality, right? Like whenever you feel like you need support and you really need the public support, there's no shame that you get in line and wait for food, which is like something very different from my culture. Like you're not allowed to do that. If you do that, it's gonna like lose your face or whatever. And then during the COVID, I got a chance to talk to one of my friends, Luis Travies Pentanera and Manny. We just published a paper about cultivating comms and student at the doctoral level. So, the paper, so we got a chance to talk about the mental health and the well-being, but during the conversation, I got a chance to ask myself and ask, get a discussion with my friends about the word productive, because sometimes we attach ourselves to the definition of the productiveness. But we have to ask ourselves, like, productive for whom, right? And who define the definition of productiveness? Because I come from the decolonizing and queer perspective, I'm always questioning about, you know, and I'm sort of like afraid of the word productiveness, because I cannot force myself or put my body to sit in front of the computer, for 5, 6, 7 hours and keep writing and writing and thinking or attending the meetings, right? It is impossible. And I say that because when we talk a lot about social justice, and I think we have a different definition of social justice, but at least we need to do justice for ourselves, for our body, for our mind, for our family member, right? Because I'm just thinking a lot about death recently, because I've been seeing and attending so many funerals, and I'm just I'm just give I'm just thinking a lot about the passing of a person who's around us, and what is the meaning, when someone passed away, um, and how we can, you know, handle that, the sorrow, the passing, and all kind of that. So for me, productiveness is just kind of like a very bullshit word, that, it is not for ourselves, especially for the people of color and international student or transnational student who have to meet certain requirements, for institution, for publication, right? For presentation, and et cetera, and et cetera. So the strategy that I have is just kind of like have a conversation with myself and do justice for myself. And I do justice for people around me so that I can be with them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ethan. And I want to share my experience, like what I did, like when I understood that there is no guarantee when I will get to see my family in person. So I kept myself in continuous touch with themselves. I called them, I talked to my mom and dad, and I started to share everything. And I'm very much grateful to my friends, like my friends in my country and my new friends here. They helped me a lot to overcome this obstacle and like to survive that time. And what also I did, like when I understood that I am stuck at home and I have nothing to do, I started to explore my research interest. I started to involve myself in research. Like I didn't feel to study and I didn't feel to read all the articles, but still I kept going, and that helped me a lot. So I also followed these things. And we have some beautiful questions in our chat right now. So I want to address those. So the first question from our audience is like, how do you find a balance between your need for self-care and also responding to the demands of academia, wherein you still have to write or present or publish, etc., so you don't feel like you are procrastinating? Any of you can answer.
I feel that's a great question, especially that some of us are in PhD students who may be demanded to be productive all the time, no matter what happened. And I feel for me, my PhD advisor is very caring. So I'm very lucky that he's not pushy or very harsh. And I feel for me, self-care always comes first, because without self-care, you cannot become productive sustainably. You can, like, if you push yourself too hard and don't have your personal boundaries between work and life, you may end up like not living a happy life or having mental breakdowns. So I think for me, doing a PhD is something like a career goal I want to achieve, but like in the long term, being happy is what is most important. Yeah.
Thank you, Qiyang. And we have another question. Did anyone experience challenges in collecting data during the pandemic because of his or her or their ethnicity? Did any of you face?
I can go.
Okay, sure.
Um, I'm still in the process of writing, and I've just finished coursework, but I've been actively collecting data to answer the questions, and I don't think that I run into any challenges. But just FYI, my work is to focus on autoethnography and duoethnography and autohistoria teoria by Golian Zedua, if you're not familiar with that term. So it is not really like challenging in terms of collecting data, but it is quite a journey of looking at yourself and then thinking about the space and the time where you are at and who you are with, you know, and then internalizing the conversation. And I think that is also considered as like a journey of data collection, because let me try to emphasize this. People think that, you know, doing autoethnography is just easy, but it's not. That is the process of exposing yourself, exposing your vulnerability, your pain, your happiness, all of the moments to put out into either the daily journal or recording, etc. So whatever things that you keep your data, it is painful to me. And then I think my work is to focusing on autoethnography. So it is like double or triple. What is the word? Double or triple collecting, because it is just so difficult for me to understand myself in that kind of moment, if it makes sense. Because some of the moment you feel like you don't know what you're doing, you know, either like because you take a lot too much coffee, you have so many caffeine in your body, just put it that way, or you know, you are writing something, you're trying to like connect with your life, with your data, and then a friend just texts you, do you mind going out? Or something just keep coming up to interrupt your line of thinking. So I don't see this as kind of a challenge, but I think it is kind of like give you a space to think through and carefully and slowly about, the work that you're doing.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Ethan. And I think I can add another dimension of data collecting, like during the pandemic. What I felt that I think all of you will agree that we had to change the research pattern or methodology or the thing we were trying to explore due to this pandemic, because we had no access to human, so we couldn't go to the target groups and do the interview or face-to-face discussion or everything. So we had to think about the online versions, and it is not applicable for all the researchers. Like I personally faced this problem. I had to change proposals and I had to change my plans. So that was one obstacle regarding the research I faced during pandemic, and I'm still facing. So yeah, I also agree. And our next question is like, I want to take this one because it is connected. How did you guys continue to publish and work on research despite the obstacles? That's from our audience. So before going to the panel members, I want to add to this question, like, yeah, I had these obstacles from my experience, but still I continued because I think that was the only issue helped me to survive that time. Because as an international student, I don't have family here. I just started to make new friends, but I had no access to meet them in face to face. So I was left with only this option, that I have to study or I have to work on my research. And as I mentioned before, like, it was not easy. It was not something that I was very much willing for, but still I continued, and yeah, it helped. So that helped me to survive. And what about our panel members? How did you guys contribute? Anyone want to share?
I think that's a great question. But I feel my productivity kind of fluctuates between like high and low there across different times. And I think like cultivating good habits to keep your motivation and the productivity up is a good practice. Like every morning I get up, then I have this little note where I write all my to-do list, and I really enjoy crossing out those stuff. And that's one of my habits. I think having this habit helps me keep up with my productivity. And I do agree sometimes your productivity drops, like due to unexpected situations. For example, my PhD advisor, Robert Slevin, passed away in April. And I think for a month, I wasn't productive at all. And I just like wasn't doing much work and was moaning all the time. And that's the time when the semester is coming to an end, and I talked to my other professors, telling them my situation and asking for like permissions to submit my final projects a bit later, and they understand the situation, so they agreed. So I feel I want to reinforce the point I mentioned just now. Don't be ashamed to ask for help when you really need it. Just reach out. Yeah.
Thank you, Qiang. So we are now again going back to our guiding question. So our next question is, how supportive were your institutions during COVID? In what ways could they improve the student climate, or like how can they do better?
Maybe I can go first. So for my institutions, I just want to acknowledge that it was great that the teaching and the many services are become available online after 2 weeks of COVID announcement. So it's a great achievement for staff, for students, for instructors, for institutions. I really want to acknowledge everybody's working together to really progress in our studies and to really deliver those services. But of course, there is so many things to be improved. The one portion is, I do believe financially is many struggles. So financial help, even though it was available for some portion of some students, I don't think that it was enough financially. Even for, regardless of COVID, for international students, the funding opportunities are very limited. Even for working outside of campus are very limited. So these are the things that I really struggle. So as a summary, I could say financially, there are so many things to be improved. The second thing I would like to mention is about support mechanisms. I think there are many opportunities that institutions could offer the engagement between community and students, international students, engagement between local students and international students, and even experienced international students and a newcomer international students. There are many relationships and support system could be established. And lastly, I just want to mention that the other issue that I find out, it's also the research finding. One of the research funding was actually there are some services available, but not many is aware. So institutions could do much more marketing on their services. Instructors, the teachers and professors could also put effort to really share the services available for students that they aware and they take advantage of them. Thank you.
I mean, I can go. Qiyang, you want to talk or?
Oh, you can go first about the writer's block. I would love to hear.
Oh, the writer's block. Okay, sure. I am a writer, as you know, but I believe that I always encounter the writer's block, and you can see in my background like so many things with the sticky notes and everything there. I wish that I could bring my camera to show you. The writer's block is just real. It is reality. And every day that I'm about, I just wake up and then I say like, today I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna finish 2 pages, 3 pages, and then at the end of the day, I end up like walking, to the park. I try to buy myself some boba tea, and I say like, I need some sugar, and then I go to the market, and then I come back, and then I did nothing. So just saying that it is real that you don't have to share your successful story in terms of writing. And it is real, okay? And I think what I did was that, so I have a board over there, and then I have a lot of like, sticky notes, and then I just write out like the ideas, like some keywords, right? And then because I love drawing and visualizing what I really think in my mind, even though I cannot speak, because whenever I get into writing, my language stuck. Just FYI, like I cannot speak at all. So I set myself down, I write down the keywords, and then I connect the ideas, and then I'm starting to cry. Like I don't know what to do. Then I pick up a call, and then I ask a friend of mine, I asked her what I'm gonna do. And then she taught me the things that, whenever you get stuck, you start to reorganize the ideas, right? And then try to think about like, what do you really want to write about? And sometimes that, when you sit down and then you feel like you need to write, and then just go grab a thing, write on anything, and then start collecting the ideas, because it's everywhere, right? The data is everywhere, the idea is everywhere. You have to sit down, at least find a time to finish one sentence, just one sentence, and make sure that you push yourself forward, and make sure when you write something, you write about yourself to connect with the readers. And I think, I'm always like thinking about or imagining how the readers feel and sit with me, even though they are not with me. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like the interrelated and interconnected throughout space and time. And they can see who I am as a writer and as a scholar, even though they don't know me, So the writer block, again, in sum up, is real. And sometimes it takes a lot of caffeine, it takes a lot of sugar and tea and all kind of that, and distraction. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the questions: why do you want to write? And who is going to benefit from your writing? Then you can find the motivation to write. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
It's very interesting. Thank you, Ethan, for sharing about your writer's block. I agree that pushing yourself to write at least one sentence per day, just like get it going, is really important. And I just want to go back to the question, how supportive were your institutions during COVID? So I think my previous institution was not very supportive, because they caused a lot of stress by kicking out international students from the dormitories. But my current institution, they just distributed a COVID emergency relief check, which really helps because I think most international students didn't get the government stimulus check. And with all the economic inflation happening in the US, having some extra cushion is really useful. And my current institution also provides a mindfulness workshop targeting at international students for international students to connect with each other, make friends, and practice mindfulness for half an hour every week. And that's actually part of my current research projects. And the program will teach students about coping strategies, how to deal with discriminations. And it's just very useful. And for the second question, in what ways could institutions improve the student climate? I feel there are many ways. Most importantly, I think support groups will help a lot during this time of isolation. We all don't have much family here, and support each other is really important. And there is rising discrimination against international students, especially Eastern Asian looking international students, and teaching them about coping strategies and protect those international students on campus from hate crimes are also very important for institutions to do. Yeah, I think that's all about this question.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you. And it's good to know about your university, what is doing to support the international student. And I would like to add that Georgia State University had also took initiatives with all this program, and I think Ethan will also agree that we had online psychological events like mind coping and everything to help the students, and we continuously got emails from our department chairs, our professors, and our other colleagues that if we need any help. So yeah, to some extent, to some universities, they actually extended their help. And now we have an excellent question in our chat from our audience, so I would like to address this. That have you encountered difficulties in funding your research? If so, what strategies have worked for you? Have any of you encountered? Because I know some of my friends from my country who are doing PhDs in different states, they encountered difficulties. Some of them lost their funding for the time being, some of them are afraid. So have you guys encountered any difficulties like this?
For me, I still encounter some difficulties of finding my research because when I start the program, there were some fundings available as an entrance scholarship, but as I continue for a program, I really depend and rely on my own work as a teaching assistant, research assistant, and I also taught at the department to really have first fund to really sustain my living. But for my research, I still look for a fund. The only during the COVID time that I find a fund is the Accelerator Award from the Concordia University to really help me to go through the research to finish as quick as possible. But I don't have much strategies to share because there are fundings available for Canadian students, but not for international students. So that's why it's still ongoing process for us.
Thank you, Ezgi, for sharing your experience. So we'll now move towards our last guiding questions for this event. And that is, in conclusion, as veteran graduate students that have survived and thrived during COVID, what is your advice for new graduate students starting their programs considering the ongoing pandemic?
I can go first. I have a lot of advice. Let's start with the first one. I think it's important to find your own way to distress yourself. everyone has their own way to like cope with stressful situations. I think you need to find your go-to way. For example, meditation or doing yoga, practice mindfulness activities, or even like hiking on weekends, walking a dog. Even if you don't have a dog, I walk my friend's dog, and that really helps. That's my first advice. Prepare a distress strategy for yourself. And my second advice is to surround yourself with friends. And I think that networking is very important. And Asa and Ezgi has mentioned that several times. Because when you get into trouble, having network makes things much easier. Even remote network helps. I remember when I was almost being kicked out from my university and I didn't have a place to stay, my professor emailed me saying that she will fight for me for the living situation. And I remember she said, I will never let my students to be homeless under my eyes. And that's really touching. And yeah, my advice is to attend happy hour meetings and social hours to make more connections. And the third thing is, here is a resource I want to share with all of you. I saved this in my notebook. Those are like the crisis hotlines you can always go to if you feel the need. And I think I saved that on my phone. I'm sorry, I have a long list of advice. And my next advice is to be aware of hate crimes and be prepared to protect yourself. For me, like I'm a Chinese woman living in this country, I feel unsafe walking on the streets alone, given all those things happening. And I think if you can get a pepper spray or get friends' company to go to stores, and sometimes I wear sunglasses, masks, and hats to hide my race so people won't really target me. And my next advice is to keep monitoring the local COVID situations because the pandemic has not ended yet. Protect your life, get enough mask and food storage in case the second round is coming. And I'm sorry, last advice. If you have the time and energy, adopt or foster pets. I adopted two very cute kittens during COVID-19, and they give unconditional love for you. And I feel like I really miss my family in China, but I couldn't go back. So my strategy is to increase my family members here by adopting pets. But I'm not urging you to adopt pets, use them, and then dispose them here, then go back to your own countries. Please, if you really want to adopt, be responsible for the pets for the rest of their life. Yeah, I think that's all about my advice.
So maybe I can go next. I would say don't afraid to ask help and offer help for others, and be direct with your needs when you communicate. The other advice is please search and ask for university services and demand them and use them. The third one is as a graduate student, you really need a time that you need to sit down and write. If you have a group of friends that you could either lead or you can involve, which is already exist one, peer support writing groups, it will really help you to schedule your day and progress in your writing. The fourth one is similar. What it has been said is be in nature, just go out and enjoy being in outside and really be near trees or somewhere very green. And to have friends, not only international, but to have local friends, even to meet with the families, the neighborhood that you live in, to really engage with the community. And lastly, maybe if you don't want to foster an animal or to really adopt one, I'm really plant person. I love lots of plants in my own place. So maybe you can nurture something, and it really gives you a feel of accomplishment each day.
I don't have any advice. Like, you two both talk everything about it. What should I do? Okay, I don't prepare for this. So I think my suggestion, not advice, would be number one, don't take too much coffee like me. Don't take too much sugar like me. Uh, what else? Sleep as much as you can. Say no to the Zoom meetings. I am just like, no, no, no. Would you rather call me, FaceTime with me? I'm just like tired of like sitting in front of the Zoom. Can we do a different thing? You know? So no, say no to the Zoom meeting as much as you can. Um, Buy something for you that you like, but not sugar. Not sugar, not coffee. And then I think finally you need to ask yourself and then come back to yourself to ask the questions, why am I doing this? That is the real questions. Why are you doing this and for whom? So that you are able to continue the journey. Okay. Uh, that is the questions that I keep repeating and repeating and repeating. Not only in this public space, but also for myself and for people around me. So I don't have a lot of Ray advice like the other two panels. I know you rate, but for me, it's just like those kind of like the real things that I have to keep in mind.
Well, that's great. And yes, Ethan, I can also remember that when I was struggling, one of my friends said the exact line that just remember, why are you here staying 1,000 miles away from your family and struggling? Just remember this and you are good to go. So we are at the end of our today's session, and we have the last question from the audience, and that is, how can we support our international student friends? Any of you just can quickly have any thoughts on this? How can we support our international student friends?
Just be friends with them, listen them, and listen their needs.
Yeah, and check in on your friends if you don't see their activities for a while.
And love me, love us. Give me a hug. Just that's what I need. And get vaccinated.
Well, thank you, and a big hug from all of us to you, Ethan, today. So, dear audience and dear panel members, thank you so much for this wonderful discussion today, for joining us. So, our purpose was to learn about international graduate students' lives during this pandemic through an intersectional lens and multiple perspectives. We are absolutely sure that our international students can relate to their lived experiences with your own. We have been longing to share these parts of ourselves with others in the hopes that we start the healing process. Jay and Andy, would you like to share any last thoughts or comments today?
I am just so blown away. Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. Your experiences, it's connected. All of our lives are connected. All of these struggles, they ring true. Everything is different now. And the sooner we rally our troops to face that altered reality, and we get academia and the powers that be in line with what we're facing as graduate students, as community members, as leaders, as parents, as grandparents, your stories, your experiences were inspirational, and I thank you. What we're doing is healing work, right? And we're starting the conversations and racism, intersections of citizenship, who has access to vaccines, the rhetoric of Trump calling it a China vaccine, the irresponsibility of our governments, all across, right? State, federal, how social media and how the alternate narrative, right, of what vaccines are or what they aren't or what conspiracies are, and how that affects our actual warrior experience in the classroom, right? In college classrooms, in K-12 classrooms, in our own homes. This language, this ideology affects how we walk in the world. And it makes some of these spaces dehumanizing and incredibly traumatic for many of us. And so thank you so much for highlighting the privilege that we have in America, because there is nothing more international than the American Education Research Association. We represent the hopes and dreams of all of our families, because not only do US citizens go out into the world, but the world sends us their children, their leaders, and their peoples. And when I say children, I mean all ages family, because we are all our Earth's children. So thank you so much again to Roti, our amazing panelists. And I'm going to knock it over to Andii, who's going to remind us about some amazing AERA deadlines before Roti has the last word.
Well, I can't close up any better. And for the sake of time, I just want to say thank you all so much. I don't know why this happened, this COVID crap. I don't know. But I try to always find the good in bad situations. And I think some way it brought us closer. And our fight is even more broader than it probably was the first time. And I just want us to kick ass and take names and really make something powerful out of this headache. And when I go fight, I fight for all of us. So with that said, I just want you to put something on your radar and your calendar. So our meetings are always the second Saturday of every month. And we're all across the world, which is cool. But we have some that are meetings, the times that I'm going to give you are for Eastern Standard Time. So if you're like me, you probably have to Google to see what time is your time. So our ad hoc meetings are at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Our SIG, our special interest group meetings and campus meetings are at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And our officer meetings are at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We're always here to just be there for all of us. Again, we need each other, we lean on each other. If you have questions, concerns, or just need to vent, shout, scream, curse, some extra sugar, reach out. And I'm gonna send it back to our wonderful host, Roti.
Thank you, Dre and Andii. And yeah, I'm now sharing the contact information of all of us, including our panel members today. So in case if any of you want to contact for any further queries or just to communicate, you can just take the screenshot. That's our information and our email addresses. So I'm just holding it for a bit. So you have ours and you have our panel members.
Thank you again so much. That concludes our wonderful event, and we appreciate all of your support and love. May you all walk in peace, love, and beauty.